Joe, it continues his branding exercise. I'm exonerated.
Yeah.
I'm branding it.
Well, it ends up, and we're going to be showing polls, it ends up that actually getting somebody who will act like Roy Cohn as your attorney general doesn't really work. Only 29% of Americans believe he's been exonerated. If I'm not mistaken, and maybe I am, I think that number's actually gone down since the Mueller report. It means that even some of his most hardcore supporters, and I mean, that really do follow him in this swirl of a personality cult, don't even believe him. But isn't that crazy, though? You are exactly right. He's a billionaire. It's what he claims. I don't even know if the guy's a millionaire, to be honest with you, with all the debt that he's. His daddy gave him a couple $100 million to get started, but he may not even be a millionaire. We can't see his tax return, so it's probably what the case is. And then, of course, I'm the smartest guy. First of all, have you ever met anybody that's actually intelligent that goes around telling you they're intelligent? Because I haven't. I've met a lot of stupid people that have tried to convince me they're intelligent by telling me how smart they are, but it's usually just the opposite. But we can't see his transcripts. The same thing he attacks Barack Obama for, he's guilty for, and sends out threatening letters because he just wasn't a good student, and everybody knows he wasn't a good student. And now, of course, he's claiming he's he's exonerated when we all know he's not. It is remarkable that he always tries to change the subject, too. Before the election, he tried to change it to caravans. He tried to make up stories about disease-ridden foreigners coming to our lands, having to send troops to the border. It didn't work. That's what I keep telling people. Republicans, it doesn't work. You tried this, you went along with the lies, and you had the worst loss in the history of the United States Republic. Your midterm loss, you lost by more votes than any party ever has. And it just keeps going on. And so now he's talking about he's going to close off the border. Listen, we don't care what you say, Donald, okay? We know it's all a scam. And voters know it's all a scam. And again, I think most importantly, Mika, only 29% of Americans believe that he's exonerated. He says he's not playing games. He is playing games.
Well, and
the games don't work. You lose. Oh, hey, Republicans. Oh, he's such a smart. It's like I said last week. Everybody talks about, oh, he's such a genius, and how can we beat him? Hey, guess what? You lost. You lost the midterms. Again, broke all records for just getting your political heads knocked off your shoulders. Couldn't have gone worse for you. That's Donald Trump's Republican Party. And now it's happening again. You want to try to stop us? You want to try to stop us from seeing what's in the Mueller report? And Donald Trump thinks he can change the topic? Can't change the topic. Mickey says he's not playing games. He's playing games, but it's a game that he always loses.
Well, ultimately, the page turns. But it's interesting because this branding exercise that he's been working on for years now, no collusion, now fully exonerated, it's not working. Multiple polls in the last week show that Attorney General William Barr's summary of the special counsel's report has failed to lift the so-called cloud over President Trump. The NBC News Wall Street Journal poll asked Americans their opinion based on what they know of the Mueller report, with just 29% saying it clears Trump.
Ouch.
And 40% saying it does not, with the rest unsure. You know, since we haven't seen it, those numbers actually bear out to common sense. This, as a Washington Post school poll told respondents that the president and Mueller had made different claims on exonerations and asked, who do you believe more? Only 32% said they believed Trump's claim of total exoneration, while 61% agreed with Mueller's report of no exoneration. And again, Joe, if you'll remember, in Attorney General Barr's letter, which I guess he says isn't a summary because it's too difficult to summarize 400 pages.
He changed his mind. It's not a summary now. Yes.
In his letter, the one of the very few quotes he uses from the Mueller report is that this is not an exoneration. So the president is trying to brand exactly against what this report is going to be saying. That we do know.
But
we have to wait for the rest of the report because nobody has seen it.
And did you see it this week? And it's unbelievable. He actually had his acting chief of staff going out going, well, you know, doesn't matter whether it was unethical, him talking to the Russians as much as he did. We're not talking about whether it's unethical or not, because he's basically, of course it was unethical.
Play it. I want to hear that.
Of course it was unethical.
Is this
but
Mick?
We don't care. Yeah, here's Mick.
What do you think about his larger point that the actions were unethical?
Keep in mind that everything that Adam just talked about, and I know Adam, I used to serve with him in Congress, everything that he just listed right there was available to Mr. Mueller. In fact, probably in greater detail than Adam goes into right there. And yet, Mr. Mueller found no collusion and no obstruction.
Right, not a crime. But what about the ethics or morality of those things? Those incidents?
Again, the issue here is not whether it's ethical.
All I'm saying here is that you're setting the bar on criminal charges or evidence of conspiracy, and I agree with what you're saying, that there is none there. But he's talking about ethics and morality, and you're saying that's not his job. Okay, fair enough, but forgetting Adam Schiff for a second, what about the larger point about ethics and morality?
Well, I think the voters are going to decide about the ethics and morality of the people they vote for on either side.
He's talking about Adam Schiff.
Yeah, he's talking about Adam Schiff, but Tom Nichols, of course, ethics and morality, obviously, stopped mattering to this administration and to a lot of Republican voters a long time ago. And here you have the White House, my gosh, backed into the corner thinking that this Mueller report could be washed away with a letter from an attorney general who is acting actually more like Roy Cohn, doing what Donald Trump's always wanted his attorney general doing, defending him first instead of the American people. And those numbers are abhorrent for Donald Trump. You want to explain why only 29% of Americans believe that the report exonerates him?
Well, because the report says it doesn't exonerate him, but the scary thing buried in those numbers is that when you start to matrix that against people that are going to vote for the president, what it really means is, yes, we know, but no, we don't care. And I think that's been a consistent feature of this administration, that the president does something that is, again, you know, Mueller, at least from what we know of the Barr summary, this didn't clear a legal barrier to collusion or conspiracy, but the contacts with the Russians were wrong. I mean, people should have called the FBI. That's what you do when a foreign power reaches out to you. And I think part of the problem is that we're having this discussion about the Barr summary, but in the end, there's a lot of people in this country who just don't care. That you know, you could come out tomorrow and say, okay, he did it, he talked with Russians, but it wasn't illegal. I mean, you just had the chief of staff saying, well, it wasn't illegal, but you know, ethics, morality, pish posh, those are questions we leave for somebody else. And I think that's really the dangerous. What's dangerous for our democracy is the degree to which people have just kind of settled into their tribal attachments and said, well, if the president did things that are wrong with the Russians, even if that endangers national security, which I think it does, we just don't care. He's our guy and we're going to stick with him.
Yeah, and Jonathan O'Meara, you spent this weekend covering the president in Palm Beach and also watching our predictions cruelly take form as the Red Sox demolished on the West Coast, and we're now trailing the Baltimore Orioles, and we only have about 158 more games to go behind the Baltimore Orioles. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's talk first, though, about the White House. The president has to be terribly frustrated that this letter comes out. He thinks his attorney general wordsmiths it just right. He was so thrilled last week, that he sent out, I forget, God bless Tiny Tim or Happy Birthday America or whatever he said last weekend in his tweet when he woke up realizing what his attorney general was going to do for him. A week later, he's back where he started. What's the White House reaction, and what should we expect the president to do next?
Well, the White House telegraphed what was going to happen even before Barr's summary came down. They believed that there wouldn't be something in there, no smoking gun, and they were going to take this report, or the summary of the report, take it as a victory lap, and use it as a weapon, a political weapon to bludgeon their foes. And we saw that before we went to Florida. We were in Grand Rapids Thursday night, and the president opened up that rally with a 15-minute screed about the report and claiming it was a witch hunt, that he came off as both vindictive and vindicated. That was what he was trying to sell. And people around the president.
But you know, Jonathan, though, that's what they've been thinking for weeks, and you reported that even before it came out. You were spot on ahead of the release of the report, but it's not working.
So
the
far,
poll numbers show it's not working. 29% of Americans believe him. The rest, no thanks. Over 60% of the Washington Post poll don't believe him. His approval ratings actually went down 3 points in the NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. Went down 3 points since the Mueller report came out. So what's the next move?
Right. I mean, those numbers show the risk of this strategy. And there are people around the president who have always been a little concerned about this idea, thinking that the attacks on Mueller, on the report, on linking Democrats to it would have a pretty short shelf life and may not be believed much beyond the Trump base. And those numbers, obviously, it's still only a few days since the summary came out, but those numbers sort of back that fear up, that there's a limit to what they can do here. And then when the president is not the most trustworthy character on a lot of these things. His credibility on a lot of issues has been shaky, again, beyond his base. It remains to be seen whether this is going to be an effective tactic to take this and try to weaponize it going forward. And this is not going away from the headlines anytime soon. I mean, the Democrats have given a deadline to Barr, I believe it's tomorrow, to give out the full report. That's clearly not going to happen. Barr has said that it'll be later this month. Even then, there are questions as to what's going to come out. We suspect a lot of it might be redacted for issues of sources and means or grand jury testimony, or perhaps, and this was the wrinkle that Barr put out in his letter on Friday, the idea that things wouldn't come out if they were potentially embarrassing to third-party members to this organization, to this investigation, I should say. Could that be Don Jr.? Could that be Jared Kushner? If that's the case, Democrats aren't going to take that lying down.
Yeah, well, and it is fascinating that, again, they thought this was a big win. For 1 week, we've heard how it's the end of journalism. It's the end of the Democratic Party because of a letter.
Right.
I mean, you actually have people that have been writing lectures on in columns, saying there was this Wall Street Journal editorial yesterday. I forget who the op-ed writer was. That said these are the lessons. You can't jump to conclusions. They're all jumping to conclusions before we actually read the Mueller report. It is very rich. Adrian.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.